Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today for our Talent Toolbox, where we'll be doing a profile deep dive based on some of the submissions from audience members, just like yourself. So these are other talent members. I am also a freelancer as well, graphic designer on the platform. So we'll be looking through some of those submissions, and we'll post this a few times throughout the presentation. But in the chat section, I'm going to go ahead and drop a link here. This is a link if you would like to register to submit your profiles, portfolio, project catalog to be considered to be reviewed in one of these sessions in the future. So feel free to put those in there. Throughout the presentation, please feel free to ask questions. I do ask that if you want to ask a question, put it in the Q&A section rather than the chat. The chat moves pretty quickly, so it's harder for me to follow. And we have Neil Strauss from our ambassador team fielding questions in the Q&A section too, so he'll be typing back and forth there. And we are joined today by the fantastic Hilda Medrano, who's an Upwork coach specializing in profiles here. So thank you very much for joining us, Hilda.
Oh, thank you for having me, Will.
All right, fantastic. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to be covering some profile best practices. We'll start off with a few little teaser ones, and then we'll get into some review submissions, and then Hilda's top tips, and then the Q&A section where we can go ahead and have some back and forth dialogue. So feel free to put those questions in there. We'll get to as many as we can. So to start us off with a little bit of an icebreaker, feel free to type your answers into the chat section here. But what is the first thing that most clients look at on a freelancer profile? What do you guys think? Do you think maybe it's the profile picture? Yeah, photo. People are looking at the ratings and the experience. Absolutely. If you see stars, you're happy about that. Demos, very nice. Pricing, yep, that's a big one. Skills, like your skill tags, excellent. Good questions. Yeah, fantastic. All right, these are all things that we're going to be getting into. You guys are on the right track. Perfect. So, Hilda, start us off. Do you want to give us just a few little pointers on what are some of the key ways from a high level perspective that people can make their profiles really shine and stand out?
Yeah, you know, everything that everyone commented, I'm like, yep, without having to name absolutely every single one of them. I think it's, if I had to pick top three that come to mind that I would think is more important, are probably to make sure that your profile is complete, that you have enough information. The clients, you know, are aware of your skills, your experience, your background. So your overview, that it's nice and full with enough information to give to the clients a title that's clear about the services you offer and that helps you stand out. And, you know, profile photo, I think photos make a huge first impression, and it's the first thing they see aside from your title. So, you know, make it a good, clear one, a friendly one.
Absolutely valid point. And this is a topic that we get into in quite a few of the presentations I've done, where a lot of people that are maybe newer to freelancing or just maybe newer to the Upwork platform. Can you talk to the purpose and advantages of having a specialized profile? We all know that you can have your main profile that you build, but we have the option to build, I believe it's 2 more specialized profiles. Why is that important?
Yeah, so specialized profiles are really important because you can separate the skills that you offer to a client. So we have the general profile. When you log on and you're asked to complete your overview, it is a general profile of all your skills. So if you have more than one skill that you offer to clients, a special profile will make it a whole lot easier for clients that are searching for someone with your specific skills to find you. It helps you come out in search. So for example, if let's take you, Will, for example, you're a graphic designer, and let's just say you have project management experience as well, and you have a little bit of web design marketing. If you had specialized profiles, instead of just coming up for web design, you have the opportunity to come up with your second skill. So it really lets you hone in on those specific skills within that specialized profile. So it's kind of like you have 3 chances to shine versus just having that general profile and just having one.
Right. Now, I remember hearing something about also when clients are searching for talent. I believe that I read that if you only have your general profile and no specialized profile, is it true that the general profile typically doesn't show up in the search if a client is searching, like for graphic designer or something like that? Is that true?
Yeah, that's true, because you'll come up if you have on your title graphic designer, you have it in your general overview, and you have a specialized profile for graphic design, you will come up on the search, and on the bottom of your name, it'll say specializes in graphic design. Same if you were to specialize in marketing or anything else. So again, it just boosts your chances of coming up on that search.
Right. Fantastic. So I guess, would it be also be solid advice to say if someone only has one specialty, let's just say I only do graphic design, would it still make sense for me to make a specialized profile version, even if it's much the same content, just to roll one over into a specialized profile? Would that give me an advantage?
Yes, it definitely would, because you would come up in search even more. And you'd be surprised how much I get that. They're like, well, it's already in there. I only do one. I have a lot of professionals say that. And I'm like, great, go into detail in the specialized profile. Go into a little bit more detail on what kind of design you do, or if it's project management, if it's customer support, maybe talk about a specific company you really liked working, what you enjoy about it. You can go into further detail. And oftentimes it for the most part, it's the same, but again, it gives you that opportunity of coming up in search a whole lot, it boosts up that opportunity a whole lot more.
Yeah, fantastic. I'm seeing a lot of questions in chat asking if this is going to be recorded. Yes, this is being recorded. We'll have links to that it's in the community section. So I know we're moving through things a bit quickly. Don't worry about catching everything or taking a bunch of notes. Let it sink in, and then feel free to reference it whenever you like up on that link. Neil, if you wouldn't mind, if you could pop that link into the chat when you get a moment, that would be fantastic. All right. So fantastic. That's a great question. We're going to, Jonathan, great question in regards to intro videos on your profile. Well, we get into that one, I'm sure. So let's take a look at some of the submissions that were sent in. Again, these are from talent, just like yourself and myself that have come into this event. So the first one up here. So I'm taking a look from this person. This is a full stack web developer. I know that this is maybe a little bit small for some of you to read, so I'll call out some of the highlights here and then we'll talk to them. So this is a full stack web developer, back-end, front-end developer, talking about their experience on algorithm development, talks a little bit about testing to make sure that his creations work. I'm not seeing a lot in the way of client feedback or more additional details on the overview here. Why don't we dig in here? Hilda, what are some of the things that stand out to you, strengths and places with room for improvement on what we're seeing here on this?
Yeah, so I think he's off to a really good start. He filled out, his education. He filled out a lot of good areas. I would love to see, the first thing that stands out is his overview. It's a little short, especially for his experience. So I would love to see just a little bit more information about the types of clients maybe he's worked with. He wants, or anybody on Upwork, you want to use that overview as a sales pitch. You are pitching yourself to clients. So you really want to use that and tell them why you're the person for the job, why you are able to complete whatever services it is that you're offering. So I would love to see more on his overview. A specialized profile would be great, especially when I saw that he's doing different types of design. I think it's responsive design. I would love to see something a little bit on the back end or front end that he did that. That would be fantastic. In his title. Oftentimes you see a lot of titles that are very similar. It doesn't help you stand out. And again, it's a pitch. When clients do a search, they see your picture, your profile, and the beginning of your overview. That's your pitch. So you want to make sure your profile photo is professional, that your title stands out. So for example, instead of full stack developer, maybe add a little bit more of what type of development he's done, what type of design, what types of projects does he specialize in. That would really help him stand out. I would love to see that on his profile.
Right, adding a little bit of perhaps flavor around what you do as your core. I can say I'm a graphic designer, or I can say I'm a graphic designer focusing on B2B markets, and that's more of a niche and tells a little bit more of a story, perhaps.
Yeah,
very good.
Definitely.
And how about the skills here? I see he has quite a few different skill tags. I'm not a developer myself, so I don't know how accurate those are. But from your point of view, was it a good leverage of the use of the skill tags here? And what's the importance of those anyway?
It was, and the importance of those is because they come up in search. And same as you, to me, to be honest with you, I'm not a developer, so I have no idea what those skills are. And that's why the overview comes into play, because I don't know what Java, Python, or anything else is. But if he were to explain what it is in his profile, not so much in depth, but a little bit of, I do backend development and use Java, then that would tell me, okay, that's a backend development program. They come in handy in search when clients search, and he can use up to 15. So he's got, I believe, 10, if I'm not mistaken. So there's another 5 opportunities for him to come up on search if he were to, add a little bit more on those. And you want to make sure that your skills are backed up by your overview, your education, or your employment background, or any other project that you've done. You want to make sure if you put it in there, it's not just because you know it, but because you want to offer that service. I was guilty of that when I first started. I would put in, I think I put in data entry and customer support. I've done that, but that's not what I wanted to focus on. So I put in the wrong job. So you want to really make sure the skills are the ones you want to come up and search, and that you're wanting to offer services within that umbrella of the skills.
Right. Now, I had a web event, I believe it was last week, with Evan Fisher, a fantastically successful freelancer and actually client on the service as well. He was bringing up some interesting points about the skill tags that we have on here. And he was basically saying that some good ways to find what skill tags we should be using. Like if I'm new to graphic design and I'm not really sure outside of, Photoshop, Illustrator, your usual suspects, what else should I do to fill in the other 13 tags? And so one of the topics that came up was, one, take a look at what the clients are listing in the jobs that you want to do. Because even if they're not technically the correct or fully encompassing tags, it's what the client thinks they're looking for. So you want to be in the space that the client is looking for. And another method he suggested, or we came up with, was to also look at other talent. So other freelancers on the platform, specifically the ones that are really leading their segment. So if I'm looking at graphic designers, I'm trying to look at the top 5 graphic designers on the platform in a whole, and I'll maybe get some inspiration on how they lay things out, how they get those different skill tags. Is that a good approach that we could suggest to people?
Yes, it's excellent. And it's what myself and the other 3 Upwork coaches, there's 4 of us, do that very often for you to get inspiration, because it's kind of hard when you're starting out. And I'm telling you, I recommend that you do A, B, and C, but what is A, B, and C to you? That might look different to me. It might look different to someone else. So doing a search to get inspiration, and hence the inspiration. You don't want to copy from someone else. You want to be inspired. If, Will puts that, I'm a web designer that loves to do marketing, design for marketing companies, and I want to do that. Well, that inspires me. Well, let me look at it. Let me look at how he presents himself. What skills does he have? What jobs has he done? So it does help you with benchmarking yourself with other freelancers, just to see how they're presenting their skills. Like you said, what skills tags they use. That's a great way. You can definitely do a search and search for talent that's, top rated, that has, won more than $10,000. The rate, you can check for higher rates to see if they're charging higher and they do what I do. So let me see what they're doing. It's working.
Absolutely.
So I can kind of take in and take notes on that. I think that's an excellent way to kind of see where you're at compared to other talent.
Perfect. So let's take a look at any last notes on this one before we pull up the next one.
No, I think on this one, yeah, like I said, he's off to a great start.
Yep, good start. Maybe just a little bit more detail, a little bit more personality, and just a little bit of tweaks here, but getting there. All right, next up, we have this individual does children book illustrations, character design, cartoon art, so illustration, graphic design sort of space. I do see on the left-hand side there, it looks like she has an intro video, which is, I assume, good, right? Is it worth having an intro video? Do we find any sort of measurable results from having versus not having?
Yes, it does. It makes you stand out tremendously, because if you look at, even if you do your own search with other, talent on Upwork, I can guarantee you that at least, maybe if I had to guess, and this is just a guess, maybe 1 in 100 or 200 or 300 have a profile intro. And sometimes that's intimidating. It could be scary. Maybe you don't want to be on camera. Maybe you're like, I do things in the back end. It doesn't necessarily, if you look at just even the picture of her intro, it's her design. She's walking through the design saying, I've done this, I've done that. It could be just, letters, and you're kind of introducing your voice. It could be just graphics. It could be yourself speaking. It could be anything, but it makes you stand out. You can also attach that to your proposals. So if it is an intro and I'm submitting for a job saying, hey, I'm submitting for a job to do presentations for your employees, I can attach that video on there, and it most definitely makes you stand out. That's 2 chances to make a good impression: the profile and the intro.
Absolutely. And just a brief look at this, even not even getting into the content here, the layout of this
Yeah.
seems appealing to me. It seems like there is quite a lot of information here, but it doesn't feel like I'm reading an essay. There's space, there's a use of a little bit of color and the check marks for a little bit of breakup. I see she sort of oscillates between bullet points, a little block of text, bullet points again. This, to me, it feels like it's an easy, logical sort of flow. Is this an example of what we'd like to see for this type of content?
Yeah, definitely, especially coming from, I've done hiring myself for clients on Upwork, and being from the HR world, when you have so many submissions, either proposals or if you're trying to invite talent, seeing something that's very clean, very clear, easy to follow, easy to skim through, it opens up a whole lot rather than just seeing a huge paragraph. This is so much neater. It catches the eye, the bullets she's got, then the top 5 checks she's got. Then I go into the bottom and see that paragraph. It is a whole lot easier to read, especially for clients that come to Upwork for professionals. They don't know what they need. And if you make it clear, those tags tell me, oh, wait a minute, I need someone who can do line art. Maybe that's her. And
Yeah,
it's not even in
absolutely.
her title at all. I just
Yeah.
searched up illustrations and she, came up and then I can see it. Just make it easy to the client to let them
Yeah.
know this is it easy for them to skim, easy for them to quickly read, to get the information that they need. So I love the layout of her profile.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. We're getting a few people agreeing here in the chat, and I don't disagree at all. It is very well laid out. I noticed here, I'm reading through it, in the chunks of text below the sort of check marks, I can see that she's relating to her client's mentality a little bit. So she talks about, colors and shapes are the first thing discovered by children. My art style sort of imitates this so that they catch the attention of the child. So speaking to the market that their client is going to be
Yes.
addressing. And then also in the second one below the next section, childhood is a precious time. I want to see the smile on the children's faces when they hold the books illustrated by me. Now, this is, I think, leveraging a little bit of a more empathetic and emotional connection with the client, which won't always work in every industry. I don't think. Like if I'm looking for a lawyer, I don't really want them to be
Yeah.
all soft and cuddly. I want them to be a pit bull.
Yeah.
But do you think that her attempt to empathize with the client and what the client may value or interest was well executed here?
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, she's showing passion. When I read that, I'm like, she's passionate about this. And you
She is
can do that
passionate,
with,
yes.
you're absolutely right. It may not work for every industry, but you can do that with any industry. You can say how much you love web design. When did you start being interested in it? What was the first class you took about coding? If it's HR, what interests you about that? Maybe you like to help people understand what their rights are, or what their, employee handbook consists of, or their options, or you like hiring, you like making people feel at ease, whatever it may be. If you empathize and show that you have a sincere interest in helping that client, that it's not just something you're, doing on the side,
Yeah.
it speaks to the client. Because if it were me and I want someone to write a book, a children's book, I'd want her to do it.
Yeah.
It seems like she wants to do it. She likes to do it. She appreciates the art.
Absolutely. And then I have here, I just advanced it here. We can also see her portfolio, and I see her skill tags. Looks like she's used up all her skill tag slots, which are fantastic. Her
Yeah.
portfolio has, I think, 6 items in there, which is good. What is the recommended minimum amount of portfolio items, would you say?
Minimum of 4. And you want to keep it updated. You want to keep it up to date. So if you have 4 items and maybe you haven't checked it, which we're all guilty of, you haven't
I know
checked
I
it
am.
in a year or 2, you want to move them, and you can reorder them in any order you want. So if you upload 10 more and you're like, I really like these 3, you can, arrange them however you want. But the recommended is a minimum of 4. But the more you have, the better, for examples for clients. But I love that she used your portfolio as well.
Yeah, and there's one thing that stands out to me. I'm a graphic designer, so this part just grabbed me. The way that she presents the thumbnails, images of her portfolio items, like the first one with the bunny rabbit and then the guy in the t-shirt and the pillow print. There's a little bit of design element in here outside of what she's drawn the picture, and she could just slap it on there, but she's showing different scenarios and sort of showcasing the diversity of her work in a different scenario. That is a great way to, it comes across from a hiring side, I imagine, just it feels a lot more polished than if you just slap it on there and say, yep, there it is. It shows a little bit of contextual awareness, perhaps.
Yeah, yeah, it looks interesting. It looks like she knows what she's doing. It's got beautiful colors. She's got nice titles. So yeah, coming from someone who doesn't do web design, definitely, it looks very well done. So I love that she used that portion as well.
Perfect. All right, let's see our next one here. So this is an online marketing and lead generations and web development superstar. Ooh, I like that. How do we, it's
I
got a
love
little bit
the
of
title.
character.
I
Yeah.
love the title. He added a little something to it. I love that he added the superstar. He's clearly
Yeah.
saying what he wants to specialize in. So I love his title. He's off to a great start. And he has
Yeah.
2 specialized profiles, which is
Oh,
awesome.
yeah. So we can see that on the left-hand side, underneath his profile picture, you see view profile. I see digital marketing, full stack development, and then all work being the general
Yes.
profile, and the ones above it being the specialized profile. So that's fantastic. He's used both of his slots. That's excellent. And looking at this, similar to the previous one, it looks like it has a pretty interesting layout here. I'm seeing some colors. I'm seeing good segments of text with some call outs. What are your thoughts on this? Is this too text heavy? Does it present well? What do we feel?
I think it presents well. The way he separated that, it's very neat. It draws your eye immediately to the green, and then he's got the little questions. So
Yeah.
those are him asking something. I love the layout. I think he did a great job of just making it very dynamic, his presentation. I really like that. I
Now,
think
let me ask you, it's been a minute since I've tried to use the tools to update mine. I'm guilty of not updating mine recently. I'll have to do that. but I don't remember there being a lot of tools to do a lot of those, like those green squares and the red question marks. Do you know if those tools are built in, or is it either maybe copying, pasting in from external program, or?
Yeah, I think he's copying and pasting himself. I've seen a lot of profiles like that working with, just different professionals. And it's always the ones that are in graphic design, web development. To my knowledge, you can't, because I've tried it myself, but I'm in nothing technical.
Mine's pretty plain
So
too, but this looks good. I like it.
yeah, I like it. It just pops. I love the way it pops. And I love his title. That's probably my favorite thing.
Yeah, and if we think about, so put ourselves in the client's shoe. They posted a job. They have, let's say, 30 people sent proposals and cover letters, and there's 30 profiles that they're checking out. If all of them look the same and have the same sort of presentation, and then you have one that pops and has different sections, I would think that I'd be far more likely to actually digest the information, as
Yeah.
opposed to after by the 15th one, I'd be, a little bit
Yes.
bored with the whole process.
Same. It's easier to read. It's just easier to follow. He's saying my expertise. I know exactly where to go for that. Let me ask you this. He's got questions. He's kind of trying to see what I'm about or what I'm looking for. So I love that he laid it out like that. It makes it a whole lot easier. And you're right. I would be more inclined to read this one first versus a big long paragraph.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we have the second section to this one. So this is sort of a next section of it, showing a little bit of his work history, great ratings on that recent project. Looks like he's got quite a few skills tagged as well. And what's that? At the very end, the last paragraph here, it looks like there is a testimony, what others say, yeah. So a little bit of including testimonials from clients.
I love that he used
Ah,
that. He was able to say, he leveraged that. He was able to use that, even if he didn't have it in his testimonial section. He made sure to include it on there. So I love that he did that,
right.
and he closes with that. So almost like, here's what I can do. Let me ask you what you're looking for, and look what I've done for other clients. So I really like that he used that. If I had any recommendation for him, I would say his skills tags, because he can have up to 15, and his
Mhm.
profile photo. It's nice. He's smiling, but I would like to see just a little bit more clear, and maybe a little bit more back so you can see his face. But I think
Yeah, you're
again,
sort of shading his face a little bit, and perhaps a little too close in, maybe.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
we do sort of like sort of like shoulders and up sort of
yes,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Something else that pops just like his profile does.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fantastic.
I like
Well, he's
that.
done an excellent job on that one. Great job.
Yeah,
All right, let's take a look at our next one here. So this is a content marketer and blogger for wellness, fitness, and lifestyle. That seems like she's figured out her niche, the
yes.
market
He's
that
made
she's
it.
that seems like a super laser targeted title. Is that a good thing?
Yeah, that's an excellent thing, because if especially if that's what she wants to specialize in, and she's probably maybe did some research on what kind of blogging, jobs are on there. I've seen a lot of talent that will change it. They'll put blogging for wellness, and they're like, oh wait, there's more on fitness, so let me change it to that. it looks like she's done her research, because usually it's wellness, fitness, and lifestyle, and she's very specific on what she wants. So that's excellent, because if I put lifestyle, she's going to come up. If I put blogging fitness, she'll come up. If I put fitness, she'll come up. So I think she did a great job of making it clear of what type of blogging and content marketing she wants to do.
Yeah, fantastic. What are some of the other things that are standing out to you about this? It looks like it's spaced nicely. A little bit of use of bullet point logic in the center there. What are some other standout points that really catch your eye?
Yeah, even aside from her title, I like her overview, even though it's kind of, spaced out. It's spaced out for a reason. She's noting her areas on there. I love that she kind of brings it to the client of, you need X, Y, and Z. I can do this. You need, if you notice at the last 3 sections, I love how she does that. It's almost like she's selling it. She's pitching it. She's saying, you need this, I can do this. You need this, I can do this. I love that it's like a little marketing technique that she threw in there.
It sure is.
Like, so good.
Yeah.
I like that. It was very well done.
Would you say that, so I would, if I were to describe this, I would say she understands the client's typical pain points or points of interest, like what the core things that matter to them. Yeah. I think, to me, I get the impression that she knows her market, because she knows, what do you need? What are the pain points? What are some of the hurdles people usually face in this industry? And rather than having to address those after she's won the interview, she's addressed it right before the interview, so they can know that this lady is a professional. She clearly knows her market if she knows what the pain points are. So probably has some good expertise or understanding and research in the area, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And then I love that she made her specialized profile for brand strategy. Brand strategy is going to be the content marketing, the blogging that she's speaking of, but she was smart to say, I'm going to make another one. It's under brand strategy, but I'm going to make another one for these type of skills. So now, again, she's increasing her chances of coming up. But yeah, she's done an amazing job of just finding her exact niche that she wants to work for. So I really like that. Yeah.
And for those of us that haven't really found a niche yet, don't worry, it takes a bit of time. So don't stress it. If you don't know what it is today, it's fine. You will find out by process of elimination which jobs you like and which jobs you don't like. When I first started, I basically bid on every single job I could, no matter if I knew how to do the job or if I wanted to do the job. I was like, I just want jobs. And I quickly found out that going for jobs that I didn't really have a passion for, I got burnt out. And so by a quick process, I quickly found what my niche was, because it was a project I enjoyed, that invigorate me, that I find myself finishing quickly because I'm having a fun time doing it.
Yeah. So. I agree. And it's okay to do that. It's okay to say, you know what, I'm not really sure. Maybe I did that. I was like, I'm not really sure. Do I want to do operations? Do I want to do project management? Do I want to do HR, customer support? Who knows? But, and you slowly figure it out, but it'll take a little bit. It took me 3.5 years. So not that it's going to take you that long, but some people figure it out, from the get-go. Some figure it out a little bit sooner, a little bit faster.
And it can change.
Can help.
It can change. I interviewed in one of my expert talks not too long ago. I interviewed a lady who changed complete silos of what she was doing on Upwork before she basically finished med school, and then said, I don't want to be a doctor, but finished med school. That's and awesome. Then transitioned. So she's jumped around all over the place, hugely successful after a process of elimination, but just goes to show it's fine to switch it up.
Yeah, it's fine. And that's what specialized profiles help you with, that you're able to try different things. And then maybe you want to change that specialized profile. I've changed my specialist profile at least 3 times each, I think.
Yeah.
And, it happens. So,
yeah. So I've pulled up the next section of her profile here. I see she has 6 portfolio items, which is great.
Yeah.
One thing that catches my eye in comparison to the children's book illustrator profile is when I look at these portfolio items, they may well be fantastic content, but visually it doesn't grab me. Does it grab you?
No, and I get that question asked often, but I'm not in a visual field. I don't know, what am I supposed to put? You can do a title page. It could clearly be a title page of blog article. If it's a blog article in fitness, maybe it could be a stock image of,
That's exactly what I was going to suggest.
So it kind of catches the eye of, oh, it's fitness. Oh, it's, general marketing. Oh, it could be anything. You can use a stock image. But I would definitely recommend in this situation to use either a title page or a stock image. Image
Yeah.
would be preferred only because it's a more visually appealing, and it's we love visuals. It's easy to
We're
make it
visual
see what it is.
creatures.
We're all visual creatures, so it would just make it look a whole lot neater if she were to do, even if it is a blog article, just to have an image
Sure.
on there and then the article. I think it would catch the eye a little bit faster.
I think I agree with you, and I think also that logic would apply. There are some industries that the independent professionals on here are working in. Let's just say they're in data science or research. Not a lot of graphic design going on in those fields,
Yeah.
but you could precursor your analytics or report or whatever your portfolio items are. You could at least put a stock image in there or something that is visually engaging in a sense to get people to look at it. I think that really has a big impact. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
great profile. I think she's done a fantastic job on this too.
I agree.
So let's move on to the next one here. So this is a data scientist, analyst. They're using .NET, SQL programmer, industrial engineer. There's a lot going on in this title. I have a basic understanding just to know that the .NET and SQL are specific call out to languages, programming languages that they use. So is this a strong title? Is it too technical? What's your feedback on this title?
It's a little too technical, because I can tell you, I don't know what .NET or SQL is at all. So if I were looking for someone, I really don't know what that is. If I know I'm looking for a programmer to help me with a certain thing, I'm not going to know that I need to use .NET. Chances are they're not, only because, again, they're coming to Upwork to look for the professional. So I think kind of narrowing down what that is, what does that mean, that he's a programmer for that? What does that mean? Because you're right, there is a little bit, and it's very, it's not kind of presenting what skills or projects he wants to work on. So the search, I'd be interested to see how the search would come up, because I don't know how many clients would put .NET programmer or, yeah.
Maybe, and maybe SQL, but yeah, it's hard to say, but it definitely, it's very specific, but it doesn't, I think it lacks a bit of that style. One of the things that is a hard transition for some people is when you work in a organization, you have HR, you have sales, you have, all the different departments to do the different aspects. When you're an independent professional, you're HR, you're sales. And so for people, especially people that aren't used to the more salesy aspect of being a business, let's say you work in engineering or, back office type things where you're not really interfacing with clients a lot, you do have to sell yourself a bit. You've got to have a little bit of the warm, approachable, trustworthy. Like if you're too rigid, it can hinder your ability to connect with people. And if you don't connect with people, less likely to hire you. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, it is. And it's hard to do. I get it. I don't come from a sales background, and that is, to this day, the hardest thing for me to do.
It's hard for a lot of people. Yeah.
That's a sales pitch, it's proposals. Mm-hmm. It's just really hard. And it took me a while, especially seeing other, talent that I thought, look great. I'm like, I would love to do what this person's doing, or him or her. It just kind of inspires you to do that. But it is a little hard, but you're absolutely right. And the thing about your Upwork profile, portfolio, everything that ties into it, that is your marketing, your HR, your sales, all into one. So like I said it earlier, when you asked me, what are the top 3 things that I would say, is have it complete. Use absolutely every section in your profile. Use it to the max. Take advantage of it. It's free marketing. It's a free sales pitch in every single portion.
And you know what? I've had a question from a lot of people, like people that are either new to the platform or like, hey, I'm a great software engineer, but I'm not a great content writer. I don't really have that salesy bone in my body. Well, the good news is, guess what you can find on Upwork? Someone that writes really well.
Yes.
So it's like, I'm like, oh, I don't know how to make my portfolio items look good because I'm not a graphic designer. I am. You could hire me or anyone else. Like leverage the skills of your peers, and your peers are the people in the community, the people on this webinar right now. So you don't have to be the best at everything to display the best. You can leverage the skill sets of others, just like you would hope the clients would leverage yours to really stand out. So fantastic. So and how about this profile picture? I like that there's color in the profile picture. Some of the previous ones we saw were a little bit washed out, but it looks like maybe this is a picture at an art gallery.
Yeah. So see how like immediately when you look at this picture, you're like, what is that? Like you get totally distracted by it. So I mean, I do like the color. If it were just him and it would stand out. Don't get me wrong, all of them, I don't think all of them should be just a white background and someone standing there, but as long as it's not distracting in the background and the picture is distracting, because that's the first thing that I saw. What picture is that? What
Yeah.
artwork is that? So it is a little distracting. So I would definitely
Yeah.
recommend that, just the title, making it stand out and a little bit more to his niche, not so specific in his pictures, just being more of his face.
Yeah, and as someone pointed out in the chat, Jonathan, you're absolutely correct. To his credit, he has done a great job with jobs landed, billable hours, and reviews. This is obviously a successful individual.
Yeah.
And just so we're on the same page, we were not doing these to rip anyone apart, simply learning object learning lessons on what could be improved and what is working well.
Yeah.
And also, just as a big asterisk caveat to all of this, the things we're discussing here are all best practices, suggestion, and information that Hilda and her team have gleaned from finding what works on the platform over the years through all the different industries. But know that these are all ultimately suggestions, and you ultimately have to find what works best for your business. So don't take these as granite rule. If you don't do these, you'll fail. But the numbers don't lie.
Yeah. I mean, imagine he's got over 34 jobs. Imagine if his title was a little bit different. His portfolio, for example, he's only got 2, and then one of them is only visual. Imagine if he had those minimum of 4. His profile photo, we can see him. Imagine how many more he could have. And I noticed also his overview is it's a little short. He's got a little bit of detail, especially for his experience. I'm thinking I would have loved to have seen more detail on there. That would
definitely. And something that I just sort of observed looking at this is, I think also this was written to be attractive to other programmers. Like the way he's presented the information, if I were a programmer and I was looking for another programmer, this would hit the nail on the head. But I would guess that a large percentage of the clients who would hire someone like this individual might not be programmers, hence why they need to hire someone. So I think an important thing to keep in mind is try and think, what does your client profile look like? How do they need to see information? If the person you typically get hired by is like a sort of general manager in sales, and you do something very technical, you might need to present it in a little bit more of a salesy way, that person speaks that language, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's a hard thing to do,
It is.
To put it in a way that someone else would understand it that doesn't understand, because we're by nature, we want to showcase ourselves in the best light. We want to say, I know, and I've done it myself. I start throwing, different terms that others may not know. And it's just me just saying, hey, I know this. Let me show you all these terms. And, for him, it might be programs, but somebody may not know. And like I said earlier, from a hiring standpoint, either hiring for, myself or another company, if I don't know what that is, I sadly would probably skip this profile, because I'm thinking, I don't know what that means. So let me go find someone who says I can help you with your website that's broken.
Someone who dumbs it down for someone like me who doesn't speak that language.
Exactly. Because like I said, he's the professional. So he's the one that knows about the programming. I don't. He knows about analytics. I don't. So I really don't know if I need an analyst. Do I need a developer, a programmer? Right. I'm not sure what that is. So,
I'm hoping that they're going to tell me. And one other thing I noticed on this one is some of the previous ones we looked at did a really good job of sort of alluding to or outlining their process. Like, when you hire me, this is the way we're going to do it. We'll take about this long. We'll have this many reviews. It tells a little bit of a story on what they can expect, which anyone that's had any interviews, that's going to be a question. What's your process for doing this? Or make me feel confident that you know what you're doing. So telling a little bit of the story on how you handle the projects, whether that's communication timelines, anything of that nature, I think that's only going to help you in making the client feel confident that you have thought of the whole picture. And once they hand you the project, you're not going to halfway do it, Yeah,
I agree. Like what we saw in the previous profile overview, I would love to see in his saying, do you need X, Y, and Z? I can do it, because that's programming, or that's, industrial engineering, whatever it may be. You're kind of educating that client on what it is. And I would be more comfortable going, oh, I didn't know that. Well, let me reach out to him. Let me start a chat. Let me reach out and see what he can do for me. Just educating, like you said,
Absolutely.
that client. I would love to see that in his overview.
Yeah, fantastic. All right. So I want to leave plenty of time for question and answer here. So I'm going to move to the next bit. Oh, we had one more section. Oh, that's right. Just there. So I wanted to touch on Hilda's top tips. So walk us through some of your top tips. I know we alluded to some of them earlier, but we've gone through a lot of content since then. So let's break it down into some core takeaway bite-sized chunks for us.
Yeah. So if I, I would love to give every single tip, but you guys don't want to be here for 3 hours. So, but my top tips would be, again, it would be, that photos make a strong impression. And I've talked to many professionals that say, well, I don't have a professional lighting or camera, or it doesn't have to be, it could be with your phone. You just want it to be a photo that shows your face, that's clear, that doesn't have anything distracting. That's what they want to see. I think all clients want to kind of get a little bit of that personal touch of seeing who I'm working with, who I'm talking with. I think that speaks volumes. Having an overview, like I said, it's a good introduction to clients about not only what you can do, but what you are able to help them with. Remember, they came to Upwork for help. They need help, whatever it may be. They need someone else to do it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here because they could do it themselves. So you want to make your profile overview a pitch. And I know I say that a lot, a pitch to the client, but you do want to pitch your services. You want to let them know what you can do, why you're a good fit, what you can assist with. You want to use that overview to just kind of bring in the client and have them say, you know what, I think Hilda knows what she's doing. Let me reach out to her. Let me look at her, kind of get them to, let me look at her portfolio. Oh, let me look at her, intro video. Get them, wanting to know a little bit more about you. And in talking about the overview is I mentioned earlier about the search, that when somebody searches web developer, your photo comes up, your title, and the beginning of your overview comes up. So that's your first, 200 character pitch to that client. So you want to pay attention to that opening. I see a lot of, professionals say, hi, I'm Hilda, and I did that myself. That's why I'm saying it, because I did that for like 2 years.
Me too.
Yeah, I did. Hi, I'm Hilda. I'm from California, born and raised. And that's all you would see. And now that I'm thinking back at it, going, they don't care where you were born and raised.
Not usually.
Not usually, maybe later. So, now it's more of, I have more than a decade experience in HR and operations. I've done X, Y, and Z. It kind of reels them in. It's your very first pitch, and that's what's going to make them click on that profile to see, the rest of the qualifications and skills that you bring. So I would definitely say that. Like we said earlier, a couple of times, when it comes to your title, you want to make sure that you're considering adding information about, your technologies, the skills, the types of projects that you're wanting to do. You want to avoid titles that are not going to help you stand out from others. Again, I was guilty of, project manager.
It doesn't tell much. I mean, there's a 1,000 other project managers. Like, why would I select you if you've just, And
then I would get frustrated because I would get, proposals for, can you manage this project on, web design? Or no, I don't know anything about that. So I'm like, okay, be a little more specific on what types of projects do I do? So you want to stand out. You want to make it memorable, or something that kind of sets you apart from everyone else. Telling the client what you do is an excellent thing, as opposed to just listing pretty much every skill that you do. I don't even think there's enough.
That's an easy trap to fall into as well. I know a lot of new freelancers get into the, hey, here, look at all the things I can do, when the client only cares about these two.
Yeah, exactly. I've been guilty of that. And like I said, like we said earlier, having at least one specialized profile, even if it's just one. You can have up to 2, so that's 3 with your general profile, but at least having one, it helps you with when clients are filtering their talent for specific categories. If you don't have a specialized profile in that area, you would not show up in search. And even if it's already in your general profile, let's just say all you do is HR, human resources, I can guarantee you that the chances are you can either have another one for human resources, or maybe for employee training, or anything else that's related to that general, and go into a little more detail. Even like you said earlier, if it's almost exactly the same, at least it boosts your chances of coming up in search a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. In the chat, I just posted the form again if you want to submit your content to be potentially reviewed in one of these events. It doesn't happen live. We have to put together these decks and read through a lot of them. So if you have submitted it, thank you so much. I don't have time to put it in the deck right in this second, but we will be looking through and pulling examples. So thank you so much for that. Now, I'd like to see if we can address some of our questions. While I look through some of these questions, I want to ask the audience a question here. Feel free to drop it into chat. What's one thing that you're going to try in your next profile submission, or one thing that you learned? What's one of the takeaways that you really got from this? We'd like to know. We want to make stuff content that's applicable and helpful. So let me dip into some questions here while you go ahead and type that in. All right. There's a question here about project catalog. Russell, we will be doing a Talent Toolbox event on project catalogs. That's coming up. I believe there's 2 sessions, sort of beginning, middle of next month. So keep an eye out, just like you saw the invite for this. Keep an eye out for that one. You're going to love it. I am woefully ignorant on project catalog, so I'm looking to learn a lot of information from our expert coach on that one.
Yeah, I believe it's Nadia who does another Upwork course that does that, and she is fabulous and knows it in and out. I do not know the ins and outs as much as she does, but yeah,
it's a relatively new program. I mean, in the scheme of things, I think it's like maybe a year old, year and a half, perhaps.
I think a year, yeah.
I'm loving seeing what everyone's putting in the chat here with the things that they've learned and they're going to try. Making the overview more bullet point, using some colors.
I love titles, straighten my title. Yes.
Using the title page or stock photo for portfolio. Yeah, absolutely. You guys are crushing it. This is going to be fantastic. Let me pull some more questions here. So this is a question that pretty much everyone has asked at some point. This person is a new freelancer, they're a beginner, and they don't have really any employment history yet. How would you suggest that they work around that, or what can they do to augment their presence even if they don't have an extensive work history?
And I as a matter of fact, I just talked to 2 professionals this week asking me that. They're like, I just started in I think it was graphic design for one of them. I just started graphic design. I don't have formal education on it. I started doing it. I have no examples. So how can I show a client? Your examples in your portfolio do not have to be from a client. If you started doing web design, how did you start it? He said, well, I started doing little designs for my friends. I started doing business cards for my neighbor. Those are your examples, sir.
Those are exactly examples.
Create those examples, kind of showcase, that you've done this. It doesn't have to be paid work. It doesn't have to be through Upwork. It could be just something that you did a project, or you want to do your own, portfolio with examples. And now he's got, I believe, like 15 examples of all stuff he's done. Fantastic. And he landed his first contract. I'm like, see, there you had the examples.
Yeah.
So you can definitely do that. There's different ways that you can showcase to the client that you can do it. It doesn't necessarily have to be your employment history.
Yeah, absolutely. What I did when I first switched from full-time sort of operations manager over to graphic design freelance as an independent professional, I had done plenty of graphic design, but it was all for the one company I'd worked for. So that doesn't really show a breadth of skill. So what I did is I wanted to do more artsy ones, I thought. And so I just made up a logo for a coffee shop and designed a cool little menu for it. And I posted it in my portfolio. And I put in the explanation, I said, this wasn't for a client. This is just something that I created just to show what I can do. And ultimately, the client doesn't care. The client can see, can you create this? Do I want this? And that works for me. Yeah. But I did make sure and be honest and forthright in my posting. I didn't pretend it was for a client and make up some client testimonial. I always find and always recommend that honesty is the best policy, and it makes for lasting relationships. As soon as you break or compromise that trust, you can say goodbye to that client, from my experience.
Yeah. Exactly. So I love that this particular professional, he decided to say, I draft, this is what I can do in illustration. This is what I did. I did a couple designs of what I like, what I think is colorful, modern. I think he did a great job. And you can do it with anything. It doesn't have to be visual. If it's someone, I often get that question. I'm not in a visual field. What am I supposed to put? I don't have anything to show. If it's, blog writing, like we said earlier, a stock image, it could be a title. If it's, let's just say your customer support and data entry, you don't have a specific project. You worked for a company for a year or 2 or 6. Note that. Put projects that I've been involved in. I answer a X amount of calls, or I can answer tickets in X amount of, minutes. I'm whatever it may be, whatever project you've done, anything that shows the client you're capable of completing this project. It doesn't have to be
Right.
anything visual.
And actually on that topic, for people like in the data sciences, that's and like accounting and things like that, someone's like, well, I can't put someone's account book on my profile and show them, but I'm like, but you can talk about how many clients you service, the success rate, whatever. And an idea that sort of came out in this conversation with many people that are not in a very easy like graphic design, you just slap it on the page, there you go, you're done. But for the ones that are a little bit harder to show in a visually appealing way, think about hiring someone to make it into an infographic. Like if you do statistical research and you've done X, Y, and Z, you can put bullet points to say X, Y, and Z, or you can have a visually engaging story that says the same things, but people actually might read it because it's fun to look at. So that was a creative idea that came up on how to showcase some of those.
Yeah,
Now, those are
you can also talk about your process. If it's not something visual and
right.
you don't have specific projects, what's your process? How do you tackle, a huge, large project that has to do with tickets daily? You have tickets, calls, and live chat. How do you tackle that? How do you manage it? How do you keep
Right.
it together? How do you get it organized? Anything that shows, again, the client, you can do it without having to show them, what you did, because not everyone's, in a visual field. So I get that.
Right. That's a great question from Megan. How do you do a general search? So she's trying to find out how to see the other talent on the website, to see what sort of tags they use, to see inspiration. Yeah. So the way that I approach it, I don't know if there's an easier way, Hilda, you can tell me, but the way I've done it is on the Upwork homepage, in the search bar at the very top, not the one that's looking at your job feed, but the one at the very top in the header. If you search in there and you're a freelancer on the site, it will default look for jobs, but there's a little drop down arrow in the search bar that goes, you can look at talent. So if you click on that and then click on talent, hit enter, it'll bring a completely different interface where you can basically just different filters on the left, where I'm looking at graphic designers that have made over $10,000 that are 5-star rated, job success score of 19 above. You can get really based in Georgia, you can get as granular as you want. Yeah. But Megan, to answer your question and many other people's question, definitely do go check that out. It's a great place to get inspiration. Like for me, my portfolio used to be very bland, not the content, but the way it was displayed. If I made a business card design, I would just put the flat image there and it'd be like, there it is. And then I saw a lot of people in graphic design, if you designed a business card, they would take a stock image of like a stack of business cards and one sort of facing the camera, and you'd Photoshop it onto that. You put it in a scene, like a lifestyle photo, I believe that's called. It looks so much better. And in doing so, I was able to showcase not only that I can make business cards, but guess what? I can Photoshop stuff to look convincing too. And so I've actually shown multiple things in one way. So the presentation, it's not just delivering the information, it's presenting the information in a way that someone wants to or can digest it, and which was sort of a mind blower for me. I'm like, shoot, that's such a simple step to make it look so good.
Yeah. Inspiration is awesome. So yeah, it's the exact same way that I do the searches, and I just mess with on the left-hand side. Once you do the search, you'll see different, like Will said, you're going to see different things, categories that you can kind of narrow it down by location, what they earn, skills, anything like that. And it also shows you how you will appear. It's going to show the picture, the title, and the opening of your overview.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a good question here from Vanessa, and maybe a little bit of a sneak peek in here, but how can we refer other freelancers when we decline a project, when she currently has no way to really contact or meet other freelancers on Upwork? It's a great question. There are a few resources and a few avenues where you can get to know other freelancers and independent talent on Upwork. There is the community section, similar to the link that Neil has put in the chat. The community section there, lots of different forums. Like if you're having trouble with your proposals, you're not sure why it's broken, there's plenty of veterans in there that are happy to give you feedback and say, listen, Will, this is not good, this is good, make it that. And you're like, wow, these are the answers that I needed. So check the community section. There is also a new feature, which I believe is currently in beta or invite only. It will be going live to everyone, I think, coming up here soon. But that is the Your Network feature, where you can actually have direct connections to other members on the platform. So I know that is starting to roll out now. So there's a variety of different ways to meet. And there's also Neil, the gentleman fielding all the questions here, and the team that he works on, the ambassador team, do a lot of like localized events. I think they're called huddles, and other localized events. I think you can find more information about that in the community section. But there are a variety of ways to meet and mix, probably mostly in the digital sense because of COVID, obviously, for now. But there are many different ways to connect. So it's a great question, Vanessa. And it would be so nice if you can't do a project to be able to recommend someone that you work with and sort of build those partner networks.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if we can squeeze in one more question before the buzzer. Oh, great question. I'm very new to this platform, and is it normal for clients to ask you to set up a Skype Messenger contact? No.
No,
And
I mean,
why is that?
is it common for them to do that? Perhaps it might be, but no, you don't want to do that. You want to keep all communication on Upwork. It's protecting yourself, and that's the reason why Upwork's Terms of Services recommends that. Is you want to make sure that you, until you have a contract going, you want to keep all communication on there. That, to me, it's a red flag for a scam. If you are able to chat and to have a call on Upwork, there's no reason why to take it outside. If you weren't able to, I understand, but there's absolutely no reason. So for that, you can politely, my suggestion is politely, I prefer to follow the terms and services of Upwork, so we can keep the call and chat on here. If it goes radio silence, you dodged a bullet. If it doesn't, the client honestly didn't know. I've had some clients that are like, oh, I didn't know it was against the terms of services. Let's have a call here. And they generally just didn't know. They didn't know how the setup was. So they're like, it's just easier to take it on my phone, which they can do with the Upwork app. So it's just kind of letting them know about that. So if they go radio silence, it's you're better off.
Yeah.
And you do not want to take no Zoom, no Skype, no anything like that
outside of the platform. Now that actually does bring up a point, and someone's mentioned in it. Historically, there were the Upwork call meeting was a little bit clunky before. There have been updates, Justin. Good call out there. There is also built directly into the Upwork messaging features. Not only can you do just a sort of digital phone call, you can do you can do a video call. You can do a Zoom meeting directly through Upwork, and it stays within the platform. It's super fast speed, great quality, works fantastic, just like we're experiencing right now. So there's no reason to take it off platform. And if you are caught in that situation, it can result in your account getting suspended. So what I tell people when clients are like, right out the gate, hey, just call me on Skype or something like that, I say, I can't. It's against the terms of service. It can result in my account getting suspended. But I'm happy to set up a Zoom call here. And if no reasonable client will have an issue with that if they have honest intentions, I believe.
Yeah, I agree.
So. Well, Hilda, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your wisdom. I know that we didn't get to all the questions. Thank you so much, everyone, for doing that. Feel free to put your questions in the survey as we close out the webinar here. Tell us what you liked, tell us what you didn't like, what we can improve. And we look forward to seeing you on the next Talent Toolbox. Again, Hilda, thank you so much for joining us. And Neil, thank you so much for filling the questions. Have a great rest of the day wherever you are in the world. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
Awesome.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.